Here's your host, Mohammed Fahim.
The other thing that I wanted to talk about today is obviously the Middle East and what is happening with the International Court of Justice. Surprisingly enough, Ken, the Western media did not cover South Africa's presentation at the International Court of Justice. They just presented or covered the Israeli version the next day or so, which is kind of strange, but not so strange.
Not so strange.
Yeah, and
they can tend to get deference.
Okay, so we are still letting the United States of Israel, I guess, tell us or tell our media what should be reported and what should not be reported. Folks, there's a lot of things happening out there. Yesterday there was a big rally in Washington and in London. It was a day of protest to ask for an immediate ceasefire. I don't know why we are not calling for an immediate ceasefire. That should be at least the bare minimum. You think it is cold in Chicago? It is very cold right now in the Middle East also. And the temperatures can really plummet, John. I've been there. And these people don't have anything to eat. They don't have any shelter. They don't have any fuel. The least we can do, Mr. President, is call for a ceasefire. I don't know what's keeping you, man, from asking for a ceasefire. And our friends at Fox News carried a headline saying rioters protested in front of the White House. There was no riots. Okay, so this is how these guys are messing up the psyche of the nation.
For his crimes.
Well, we got Ron from Michigan calling in, and Ron wants to talk about the Hamas conflict. And Ron, go ahead. I mean, this is an open forum, man. If you want to disagree with some of the things that we said, feel free. If you want to agree,
good morning,
all the more power to you. Good morning.
I don't really want to disagree. I mean, I'll grant you Israel is carrying out a genocidal policy. If we look at it from the standpoint of a ceasefire, or they should be fighting house to house and not indiscriminately bombing civilians who are in the way. That's not the way they're going to do it. Okay, they have the firepower. They do not have the manpower to carry out a house to house conflict. And as far as genocide goes, if the other side had the means to commit genocide against the Israelis, they would do it. Okay, but they don't, and they are in a position where the Israelis, with the U.S., has the power to eliminate them. But the history, we have to go. Let me just go back to the history. You remember the Marine barracks bombing in Lebanon? Was that Hezbollah or who blew them up? I get confused with who blew who up and that one. But Reagan was the president, and when that happened, he turned tail and he ran. He did not want to get involved with the Middle East, but I think it was Hezbollah. I can't. But at that point in time, I know a Marine captain who they had Hezbollah, whoever that was, the culprits targeted in the Bekaa Valley, and they were ready to eliminate them, but they had the orders: do not touch them. And if I'm not mistaken, the Israelis used those same people to work against the PLO, and now Hezbollah, I guess it is. They are targeted for elimination. It's a vicious cycle, and it's never ending. And I don't have an answer, but
And Ron, in that bombing in Beirut, in Lebanon, now that was 1983. Okay, 220 Marines and 18 U.S. Navy soldiers and 3 U.S. Army soldiers lost their lives in the Marine barracks at the Beirut airport. My question is, what were our soldiers and our Marines doing there to begin with, man? Why are we trying to be the world's policemen, and then nothing happens to the children of our Congress people and our senators? They don't go out to fight, okay? And our former president obviously had a bone spur or something when wars were happening, so he never showed up to go fight for the country. Something is screwed up, Ron. And thank you so much for calling in. How's the weather in Michigan, man?
Terrible. If you love snow, it's plenty of it and cold and wind, but hey, that's the way it goes, okay? I'm glad it's here instead of the global warming heat, okay? I don't like it one bit, but we need it, okay?
Okay, at the moment.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you for calling in. And, folks, we will take a quick break, and you're listening to the Lightning Strike Talk Radio Show on Chicago's Progressive Talk Radio Station, WCPT AM 820. This is Mohammed Fahim. With me in the studio is John Arena. And Ken has joined us over the phone today. He could not make it to the studio. We'll be right back.